Hi friends, thanks so much for being here. I'm Anna Helman, and I've been feeling lately like it's time for another organization video. So today is the day. Let's talk about organizing your dies. I know you love to keep your supplies organized. When our supplies are organized, we get to do more of what we love, which is crafting, and spend less time trying to find things, right? So this video is going to be loaded with organizational tips and just different options for how you can store your dies in a way that works best for you. We'll be throwing in a few other things. We'll talk a little bit about stamp organization at the end. So I hope you'll watch along and hear what we have to talk about. First, I want to talk about what to actually store your dies on. And I'm going to flip my camera around real quick and show you a couple of options. The first and most basic option for storing your dies is to keep them in the packaging that they came in. This is in the envelope that it came in. I can pull out the card. It has the sticky tape on it. I can remove that die and use it and put it back when I am done. Now, the option that I have started using that I much prefer to using the packaging that they came in are these magnet cards. These come from a company called Stamp & Storage. I'll have a link in the video description where you can take a look at these. I use the magnet cards and the coordinating sleeves that they slide down inside of. I love this option because I can store them in my basket. They have these tabs so I can see the names. It's easy for me to find the set that I want. It is easy for me to remove it, to grab the die I want, use it, put it right back, slide it in place, and it's just really quick and easy. I love this. Now, if you are going to store your dies in one of these two ways, on the magnet cards or in the original packaging, here's kind of a bonus tip for something that has really helped me at times. And that is to draw around the dies so that you know where they belong. And here on this, you can see I used a chalk marker. Now, chalk markers are removable. You can see up here, I've hit that with my finger and rubbed some of it off. But depending on how permanent you want these to be, if you want them to be there forever, you could use a paint marker for this. But when you draw around the dies, you take it out, you use it. It doesn't matter if you have the entire die set off of this card at one time. That's when the problem happens, right? You take a whole bunch of them off and then you're trying to put them back on and they just will not fit. And it's frustrating, right? It takes some extra time. That is less time we get to do the fun stuff, which is creating. So you can trace around these, and when you're done, you know exactly where they go back. Here's one more little tip to write the number. If you don't draw around them, or even if you do, you can do this as well. Write the total number of dies in the set down here. And so even if you don't have your lines, you can go through and count real quick and make sure you have the number before you put it away, the number that's supposed to be on there. Now, if you're using the original packaging, it is really easy just to draw around the inside or the outside of each die with a pen. And then you'll know where they go after you have pulled them off and removed them. So the best thing to do is to do this before you have ever used that die set. But if you are able to fit them back on, you can always go back on and draw those lines at a later time if you decide you want to. Another way to store dies, and my personal favorite, is on these magnet sheets you can see behind me. I've put them on the ends of my paper cubes. Now, I'll have links to all these products in the video description below if you want to take a look at them. But this is my absolute favorite because they're within reach, they're easy to get out, I don't have to spend time digging through my collection, opening the envelope, putting it back in the envelope when I'm done, and putting that envelope back wherever it came from. I love having these within reach. If you don't have paper cubes like I do, I'm guessing you have some vertical spaces in your craft area if you do have a craft area. So maybe it's the side of a bookshelf. Maybe it's a picture frame that you can get and cover in these magnet sheets and hang on your wall, or several picture frames. Look at the vertical spaces. Maybe it's the wall right in front of your craft space. There's lots of options for where you could put these if you don't have paper cubes to put them on the sides of. So where to store your dies? Now, if you have magnet sheets, you'll figure out where works best for those. But if your dies are in envelopes or on magnet cards, where do you want to store those? Good options are in a box, kind of like those cute little decorative shoe boxes, a basket. I keep mine in this handy basket that I just happen to have around looking for a purpose. And when I was organizing, I put my dies in it. Box, basket, plastic tubs, those are good ideas for how to keep your dies. Where are you going to put your organizer? On a shelf, or maybe you have more drawers. I have a dresser behind me. It's an old dresser that I repainted. It has huge drawers. They're really deep, and they're deep enough for stamps and dies, and then they're really deep widthwise as well, so I can get 2 different stacks of them laying on their sides in there. So drawers are really great options, shelves as well. Now let's talk about how to organize your dies. I have always kept all of my dies in one place. All of my dies are together. I know when I want a die or a die set, I know where to go. But I know many stampers like to keep your dies with the stamps that they coordinate with, and that makes a lot of sense as well. Both systems make sense in my mind. It's just your personal preference. Now, if you're going to store your stamps with your dies, I want to show you a couple of tips that may help with that. Most of the stamps I use come in a case, which is really handy. So if you are using Stampin' Up! Stamps or stamps with cases, you can actually store the dies right here in that case. I love this. They don't always fit with the envelope, but the insert card fits really nicely in here. Now, if you want to, you can switch out these. You can put magnet cards in here and store them together. But this makes it really nice to have all of those dies together. Here's another option. If you don't have stamps with cases, you can use some kind of clear sleeve protector envelope and put those stamps and dies down inside. Now, if you want to, you could put a tab up here on top, one of those sticky tabs, label it, and make it easier to find when you are looking for that particular stamp and die set. Let's say you do put your dies into a case like this or the clear sleeves. Sometimes it's hard to be able to see them or find them because they're not all in one place with your other dies, right? So something you can do in that case is to mark the outside of your stamp case in a particular way so that you know there's a die set inside of there. Or even if you're going to store your dies separately from your stamps, this is a really good way to remind yourself that this set has a die set to go with it. So if you look at all your stamps, maybe all the ones that have coordinating die sets either inside or on another shelf, depending on what works for you, all of them have a pink tab down here, or you could use a Sharpie marker or one of your Blends alcohol markers just to draw a dot or some kind of mark down here. And as a bonus little tip, maybe you mark the ones that have punches that coordinate with a different color. So green could be my punches, pink could be for the ones that have dies that go with them. So let's say you've decided you want to keep all your dies in one place in a basket, or maybe you've decided you want to keep your dies in the cases with the stamps. The next question is how to organize the dies or how to organize the stamps. And there are 3 main systems that I hear people talk about. I will mention right now, I am still a work in progress with my organization. I moved into my new craft area a little over a year ago. I'm going to link in the video description below to my craft room tour. I would love for you to watch along. It was brand new at that point, and I'm still working on my organization. So I haven't come up with an organization system by category that we're going to talk about that works for me. Someday I'm going to get organized and do a big tour again once everything is organized and share with you. But just for some ideas for you how to organize your stamps. Alphabetical is one good option if you can remember the names, or if you use a tip I'll talk about here in a few minutes about creating a notebook to keep track of your stamps or dies or both. Alphabetical can be a really good option if you know you want the Trees for Sale stamp set. You go to the T's, pull it out. That would be awesome if you can remember names or have them written down in a notebook. By category is a really great option. So let's say you have your holiday stamps in one section, you have your sentiment stamps in one section, you have kids stamps in one section, masculine stamps. Sorting them by category can be a really good option as well. That can be difficult because a lot of times your theme stamps, they're going to have nice greetings in them as well that aren't going to end up in your sentiment collection, and then there's just more sorting and trying to find what you're looking for. Another option, and this will make more sense here in a minute when I talk about the notebook idea, but you could just keep everything numbered. As you purchase stamps and dies and add them to your collection, you could simply give them a number, keep track of them in a notebook, and then they'll be in order by when you purchased it. And if you take a look through your notebook and you know which number you need, you can go and grab it quickly. So let's flip around. I want to talk about the notebook idea now, since I've been referencing to it several times. Let's take a look at some ideas for how you can keep track of your stamps and dies in a notebook. I hear from many of you who talk about keeping track of your stamps and dies in a notebook, which is a fantastic idea. I have never taken the time to fully do this, but I hope to sometime in the near future. But I just wanted to share these ideas with you for how you can keep track of your products. So I am only showing this with dies, but keep in mind you can do this exact same thing with your stamps as well. So here is kind of the basic idea is when you get a die set, you are going to copy it. If you have a printer or copier at home, or if you don't, you could trace your dies onto a piece of paper just like this and keep that in a notebook. But just copy, I laid two sets side by side, I copied it, and then I hand wrote in the names of these die sets. So when I want a particular die set, if I'm looking for a label or a tag or a long skinny rectangle, something, whatever it is, or a fun texture die, I love that right there. You could use that on tons of cards. You flip through quickly, find the name, and then you can go find it depending on the system of organization you've decided on. If they're in alphabetical order, it's quick and easy, you know where to go. Maybe they're numbered, and you have a number right here, so you can go and find that number. Whatever your system is, hopefully from here you can go and find it pretty quickly. Wanted to mention about shapes specifically because most likely your basic shapes are the dies that you use most often in your crafting. My basic shapes are the ones I keep up on my magnet sheets behind me because those are the ones I get out and use most often, so I want them to be quick and easy to reach. So what I did for this, I think it would be a great idea regardless of how you organize your stamps, whether you organize in your dies, whether you keep them in categories, alphabetical, whatever it is. I think it's a great idea to keep track of your basic shapes separately. Have a separate section in your notebook for your shapes. So here are a few of mine that I use all the time. And I wanted to share a tip for sometimes your tags and your basic shapes come in different sets. They don't come in a set with just shapes. This is one really neat ocean themed one called Waves, and it has these two dies that are really nice inside. Here is one called Harvest, and I really love these two dies from this set for sentiments, tags. So what I wanted to share was, if you're keeping track of this and copying them, keeping them in a notebook, something else you can do if you just have like one or two from a set that belong in that category is to lay them on here, trace around them, and we can label them with the name of the die set. And then let's say you number them or you put them in a particular category. You can write down the number. You can write down the category if that helps you. So I'll write Waves here. And then these are two really nice ones from that Harvest, I believe, die set. And you probably you could trace these on the outside or you can trace them on the inside. you may want to think about that as you're doing it, because you could use this, you know, when you're trying to decide, well, which die fits best for my sentiment. So you pull out a sentiment stamp. Let's pull one out right here from this stamp set I just showed that has a coordinating punch. Let's pull this one out right here. So, you know, you're trying to figure out like, oh, well, which one of these looks nice? Does it fit? Does it not fit? Which one of these rectangles would work? It would be a good idea, if you're hand tracing them, to trace the side that's closer to that cutting edge. It may not be perfect, maybe a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger, depending on the particular die set, but that will give you a better idea of the actual size, so that you can use this to determine which one you want to use, which one fits your stamp or your project the best. I hope this video has been helpful for you in coming up with some options for how you can best organize dies in your collection. If you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe. If this video has been helpful for you, please give it a thumbs up, comment below, help other crafters to find it as well. I will have links down there for my craft room tour, how I prep my photopolymer stamps, where I put them on the inside of my case, as well as links to some of my organizational products like my die storage magnet cards, the magnet sheets, the paper cubes, those things. Thanks so much for being here. I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope you'll be back again next time when I'll be here helping you to hand make with love.